Every 15 minutes, 50 Americans are diagnosed with cancer. These are alarming statistics, and the stories are remarkable. Some are stories of triumph, and some are not. Some are heartbreaking. But these wave makers are making waves against cancer and giving more chances for hope. Swim Across America has granted more than $100 million since 1987 for cancer research and patient programs. Think of all the lives you've saved by making waves. Hope has no finish line.
Hi, my name is Grace Bunke. I am 14 years old, and I'm a freshman at Walton High School.
I'm Vicki Bunke. I'm a school psychologist, and I am Grace's mom. We were always together, and we were always active. I felt, very fortunate. Running just would describe her as just gave her freedom, and you're really always racing against yourself and racing against the clock. And so she enjoyed that aspect of running. Growing up, she was always going too far, too fast, and too high.
Go girls, go Grace, go Sydney!
She started having knee pain. She was preparing for this track meet. She started off as she literally hobbled and limped the entire length of the 400-meter race and ultimately crossed the finish line in tears. And at that point, obviously, we had to step in as adults. We were always the ones setting limits. She went to physical rehab for like 3 months. And then that's what set us on the road to figuring out what was wrong.
I'm Dr. Karen Wasilewski-Masker. I work at the Affleck Cancer and Blood Disorders Center at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, cross-campus medical director. And Dr. Fabregas, who's the orthopedic oncologist, called me randomly and just said, hey, I've got a new patient here, and the frozen section shows osteosarcomas. There's somebody that can come over and talk to the family. I think one of the worst things to happen at that initial stage of diagnosis is for families to wait. I walked across the street from the clinic to day surgery, and Grace was still a little bit sleepy at the time. So Vicki was really the person that I spoke with and met with. My goal was just to be very honest and truthful with them and to kind of lay out what things were going to look like in the days to come.
When I was 11, I was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, bone cancer that had already spread.
She had over 30 metastatic lesions in her lungs at the time of diagnosis on both sides, which is a poor prognostic sign. It doesn't mean that your chance of survival is 0, but it certainly brings it down from about 70% with localized disease to about 30%.
Dr. Wasilewski informed us that Grace had a large tumor growing in her left femur and over 22 tumors in each of her lungs. She handed us a roadmap outlining a 9-month treatment plan that included 18 chemotherapy treatments, 2 lung surgeries, and an amputation.
Osteosarcoma is either localized, or it is metastatic to the lungs, or it is metastatic to the bones, meaning other bones beyond where it started, or it is metastatic to both the lungs and the bones.
So now I knew we had, again, these 2 major things to tell her. 1, you have cancer. 2, we're also going to do this very unique amputation where you will always look very different the rest of your life.
Vicki was very clear about what their goals were and about what their values and what was important to them. Something that Vicki often jokes about is
she wanted to get her hair highlighted for the first time, and she was supposed to do that Thursday night, the night before her bone biopsy. Dr. Wasilewski, gently tells Grace, Grace, you have cancer. And she said, okay. She asked Dr. Wasilewski, she says, well, am I going to lose my hair? And Dr. Wasilewski immediately says, yes, Grace, you're going to lose your hair. And she looked at her hair and looked at me and said, aren't you glad you didn't waste all of that money on those highlights, Mom?
I mean, that, right, like that just says it all. That is very much how Grace dealt with things through humor. Their entire family dealt with things through humor, which is a very healthy way of dealing with a really bad situation.
That was how our journey began. The diagnosis of osteosarcoma, to me, it's multifaceted because not only do you have to tell your child they have cancer, but then you have to tell your child, we're going to have to amputate your leg. And then Dr. Wazalewski came in. She goes through this roadmap, which is a very intensive treatment, and then Grace starts to wake up, and so we walk over to talk with her.
She knew what was important to her, and at the time, what was important to her was being able to run again.
The tumor had to be removed, then you had to, fix her leg. And there are 3 ways in which to do that. One is a limb salvage, where you can keep your leg and it looks like a normal leg, but it doesn't really function like a normal leg. And the minute he said that, we said, well, you don't know Grace, that's a non-option. Please tell me you have other ideas. So then he goes down to just a straight amputation. But that obviously has problems because your thigh isn't meant to bear weight. You don't have a joint. And so then he ends with, we have this other option, it's a rotationplasty, where we'll remove the tumor, we'll remove her knee, and then we'll take the part of her leg that's left over the thigh and foot, and we'll rotate her at 180 degrees, reattach it to the leftover femur, and then her foot will function as a knee, but it'll have to be on backwards. It's almost like they try to tell you what you think, like the best first, and they save the worst for last. But in this case, the worst was the best possible solution.
That is the best option for somebody who wants to be very active from an athletic perspective. It is not the best option for somebody who is worried about people looking funny at them because their foot is on backward below where one would think that their knee is.
When I first heard rotationplasty, I wasn't focused at all about cosmetically what her leg would look like. I just knew that it would allow her to do the things she loved. She was only 11. And I always think, like, if we had chosen limb salvage, we would have amputated her life and all of the things she loves, being physical and adventurous, or we could amputate her leg and save her life and save all the things that she loved.
There was not a question, right, for Grace or the family in terms of what option she would go with because, again, she knew what was important to her, and at the time what was important to her was being able to run again. So Grace presented with advanced disease, right? She presented with metastatic disease, but the focus at the time was, this is curable. Let's do what we need to do it. She had a great response to chemotherapy. The other thing about chemotherapy for osteosarcoma, not only has it not changed, but it is toxic as all get out. It's exhausting. The way chemotherapy is given for osteosarcoma are in these, cycles or cassettes, and then the following week you start it all over again. Overwhelming majority of osteosarcomas in children, adolescents, young adults are high-grade osteosarcomas, which is different than you see in older adults. Following her initial treatment, chemotherapy, rotationplasty, 2 lung surgeries, Grace didn't have any evidence of disease.
Ew, no, that one's gross. Despite what had seemed like a good response to my initial treatment, I relapsed in my left lung in October 2016. Following a third lung surgery to remove a cancerous tumor, I chose to participate in an immune therapy clinical trial.
She always knew what was important to her, and that guided the decisions that she made throughout her entire life. Her priorities were doing the things that she loved and being with the people that she loved.
Our job was to just walk with her on this path and support her in every way she could as she supported us. During that cancer-free time, Grace continued to play the field. She attended almost daily swim practice and went to track practice twice a week.
I'm bad at this.
Good.
I did.
What does it say?
That I made the Walton swim team.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
In preparation for her first swim meet in December 2015, Grace designed her own swim cap. She chose yellow, since that is the color of childhood cancer awareness, with the Cure Childhood Cancer logo on the side and her last name on the back.
At first I didn't really like it. Like a couple of weeks later, I fell in love with it.
It is a love story. And Grace always said, you know, I found running, but swimming found me.
We came across an amazing family who happened to really love swimming. So we reached out to the Bunke family and asked for their willingness to not only share their story, but be kind of the inspiration for all of these individuals who were gonna get up and come out and swim and leading up to the event, participate in fundraising efforts, knowing that it would come back to help benefit not only Grace, but patients just like Grace at the Aflac Cancer Center.
Well, we've heard those 3 horrible words, you have cancer, and we want to hear those next 3 words, there is hope. So it's a real partnership. That wisdom, that passion that she brought, we are very blessed to have met Grace and been a part of her life.
My cancer, called osteosarcoma, keeps coming back. First, it was in my leg, then in both of my lungs, and now it's in my spine. My cancer keeps coming back not because my doctors and nurses don't know what they're doing, but because there aren't any known treatments for osteosarcoma. That keeps coming back. So do you want to know why I swim? I swim because it helps me forget. It helps me to forget that my cancer keeps coming back, threatening to steal the air from my lungs and stop my heart from beating.
I need everyone to put your hand up. I need you to say, this is not a race. This is not a race. This is a fundraiser. This is a fundraiser. All right. Hope you guys have a great swim today.
Grace also ended up being the top individual fundraiser in Atlanta that year, raising almost $20,000.
Like good. Oh my God! Now I know someone with a disability sort of like me. I'm not alone in the water, and I'm swimming with someone who I look up to a lot.
Grace, you are my hero. I just want you to know I'm so excited to be doing this swim with you.
Thank you.
It's a great time.
So Grace was very fortunate in that she had this passion and love for swimming and love for swimming across America. I will continue treatment as long as the treatment allows me to continue to do the things I want to do most, which are swim and spend time with my sister. And once the treatment interferes with the ability to do that, then I'll stop. The oral medication she was taking was making it too hard for her to go to swim practice, so she knew right away, I'm not going to take this treatment anymore. So she made that decision, but then her cancer started progressing, and then her cancer kept her from being able to swim, and so then she was willing to start treatment again if it would allow her to continue swimming.
Every single time that she competed and swam in the pool, she got better and better and better from a time perspective, despite the fact that her cancer was continuing to progress.
Just as doctors predicted, my cancer came back. Again, relapse number 3. But this time, the cancer invaded my spine. Not good.
That's the challenging thing about the lungs, is that when there's that many lesions, it's hard to get chemotherapy in there, and it just takes one cell. So when you go in to do surgery, they get out what they can see, but it spreads through the bloodstream, and it just takes one cell that's hiding there somewhere that's resistant to the chemotherapy to cause problems. So
The goal of my treatment switched from being curative to being focused on my quality of life, correction, the quality of my end of life.
it started as an initial hope of running. It changed into hopes of swimming. It changed from hopes of cure to hopes of spending as much quality time with her family, with her mom, her dad, her sister, her friends.
She really wasn't able to breathe as well. She had oxygen. The cancer had spread beyond, in her lungs, in her spine. It's bone cancer, so the tumors that are in her lung is bone, so it causes a lot of pain and damage. We went into the room to tell Grace, and she realized then, that her time was probably going to be more like weeks left to live, maybe months. Because as a parent, as hopeful as Grace was, right, she's still a young person, and as her parent, I just wanted her to always maintain that sense of hope. I shared with her the story. There's a town that's experiencing a drought. The pastor of the town decides to have a prayer vigil. We're all going to gather together to pray for rain. So the whole community comes together. The pastor's at the front of the church looking out across this packed sanctuary, and he's so happy that all the community has come together to pray for rain. And then he looks down in the front pew, and there's a little girl sitting there holding a red umbrella. And he realized that everyone else came to pray for rain, but only the little girl believed enough to bring an umbrella. I think she always tried to live in this space, which is really hard to do because we did it for a long time, this space between hope and acceptance. Acceptance for what is, but hope for what might be.
Keep on the bright side and just think of positive things, and it will get you through it.
Prayer is asking for rain, but faith is bringing the umbrella. She still had this one swim meet. It was a state age group swim meet that she, wanted to participate in. We're not just saying a prayer that Grace is going to be able to do this, but we're going to have her run umbrella because we know it's going to happen. And as a matter of fact, when Grace realized that she wasn't going to be able to swim in that meet, and she had made arrangements with Amanda Ware to swim in her place if she couldn't be there, it was that night that she had me help her write her fundraising page for Swim Across America. Had at that point determined that she wanted to be, the top fundraiser, not just in Atlanta, but in the nation. And that's when she also came up with she was saying that hope has no finish line.
Hope takes on many different meanings during the course of someone's cancer journey, during the course of someone's life.
I wasn't able to spend the time that I have left doing the things I want to do. What do I want to do? I want to go to high school, hang out with my friends, hang out with my family, and I want to swim competitively. I love being in the water.
I feel very honored to have been there to be able to be somebody in the stands to cheer for her. And while she's not here now, we're going to carry the Grace Bunke cap forward. And we're going to raise money, and we're going to help a lot of people. Because Grace would have wanted us to do that. And that's what we're going to do.
I have learned over the past 3 years that courage is not eliminating fear. You know what courage is? Courage is not letting fear eliminate hope. I can still make a difference. I can make a difference by sharing my story and raising money desperately needed for research. Please don't feel sorry for me.
The attractiveness of Grace is that she was so genuine, and you just felt, you wanted to be like Grace. Like, I can't control my circumstances, but I can control how I respond to them.
So I brought my umbrella, let it fall down around you like it falls from my eyes. I know your pain, so I've come here to tell you you're going home. I'll take you home. I'll take you